With the upcoming Grandmaster Nightfalls releasing on July 5th, I thought it was about time to make a newly updated Warlock Stasis build so that GMs can go from being easy to very easy. So if you're someone who has had enough of those Void 3.0 and Solar 3.0 builds, well then today you're in luck because we have a Stasis turret build that will make endgame PvE much easier. You'll be running around with pretty much infinite stasis turrets that will slow and freeze enemies and champions one after another, which will allow you to become a true ice god. There's also a few other benefits to this build which we'll get to later in the video, so guys be sure to leave a rating, comment, subscribe and share for more, and perhaps check out my sponsor down below, USMMO, as they sell cheaper Destiny 2 Silver on Steam. So if you're interested, link below along with my discount code. And now Guardians, let's get frosty. Now as always, like every build video here, if you do like these builds and you want to see more builds like this, then you can view that full playlist linked down below, as I do cover builds weekly here on the channel. But with this one today, we will be focusing around slowing and freezing enemies constantly, but it won't actually be us who do that, it'll be the turrets. So it is an automated build that pretty much does everything for you, and as I did cover this build not too long ago, it will follow a similar setup as the previous version of the build, so treat this like your updated version for Season of the Haunted. So in terms of how you will effectively use this build is, first off, you'll charge and throw your grenade, which will create a stasis turret. This will then slow and freeze enemies while creating stasis shards, which will act as stasis elemental wells, and will also track to your position to be collected. Upon collection, you'll get ability energy, and then placing down a rift and getting a kill will spawn a void well, and then picking up that one will give you more energy but also damage resistance. By this point you should have your abilities back to just repeat the same thing. This is really effective for situations where you have a lot of champions roaming around, or you just want to make things like doing a solo Master Lost sector a lot easier. So quickly going over the setup for this one, the very first thing you're going to want to make sure you do is have 100 discipline. This is so that you can spam those stasis turrets down, otherwise the next stat you want the highest is resilience, and then recovery. For the subclass we're running the Warlock Stasis Shadebinder, Winter's Wrath, but this super doesn't really matter as we're focusing around using our abilities. So the first one is going to be a healing rift. You can use empowering if you want to, but I prefer the healing. And then the grenade, you're going to want to make sure you have Duskfield on, as this has a faster cooldown, because we'll use the grenade to convert into a stasis turret with our first aspect, which is going to be Bleak Watcher. This will give us 2 fragment slots and allow us to hold and convert any grenade into a stasis turret that slows and frees enemies. The second aspect we're using is Glacial Harvest, where freezing those targets creates stasis shards around them, and then picking them up will give us mainly energy, but they will be doing a lot more than that, which we'll get to later in the video. As for the fragments, we have Whisper of Torment to get grenade energy when we take damage, Whisper of Durance so that our slows last longer, Whisper of Shards so that shattering a stasis crystal boosts our grenade recharge rate. I'm mostly using this for the plus 10 to resilience, and then Whisper of Conduction so those shards can track to us, but again we'll get another plus 10 resilience and intellect with this one. You can swap this out to Whisper of Rhyme if you want to, which will give you a small overshield when picking up shards, but this is down to personal preference. So now we have our base subclass set up, so the next thing you want to do is make sure we can get those grenade and rift abilities as fast as possible. So to help boost up that recharge rate, we will be using the Eye of Another World exotic helmet, which will increase our grenade, melee and rift stats by plus 30, and this will stack passively on top of your base stats. So even if you have 100 discipline, it will actually be 130 with a faster cooldown, even though the base stat is restricted to 100. For the mods, the first one we have is Well of Restoration. Picking up a stasis elemental well will give us extra energy for our abilities. With this we're running our ammo finder mod in the helmet, as we're using linear fusion rifles, so again change this to whatever weapon you are running. But next up, elemental shards. This will make stasis shards become stasis elemental wells, so our previous mod can come into effect. A grenade kickstart with that, so that we get a bit more grenade energy when using it, and then our champion mod that we need. Chest armor, we have Well of Tenacity for reduced damage when picking up void wells, along with our damage resist mods from the artifact for this season. Leg armor, we have Reaping Wellmaker, so we can actually spawn those wells in using our rift ability, and you shouldn't have any issues with spawning in these wells, because the amount of fragments and mods we're using, you should consistently be getting ability energy back quickly, so that you can place down another turret and rift before the previous one has gone away. But the other 2 mods in that leg piece are better already to trigger health regen when picking up an orb, and our scavenger mod for our main DPS weapon, that being the linear fusions. Finally, for the class, Well of Utility, so that picking up that void well will reduce the class ability cooldown. If you have 100 recovery, then you can swap this out, but it does help a lot because you're using that class ability to spawn in void wells, and then picking up that well is going to give you energy to your class, And because we're using the distribution mod, you want to place down that rift near enemies so that you get even more energy just for using the ability. Honestly guys, a pretty good build with a strong setup that you can use in endgame PvE, whether that's a raid, a Grandmaster Nightfall or a Master Dungeon, because it works so well with those infinite turrets, which will just automatically slow and freeze everything in your path to reduce the amount of incoming fire at you, while you focus your fire on champions and bosses. Strongly recommend giving this build a try if you haven't already. There is a dim link down below, so feel free to check that out, or leave a comment if you have any questions. But guys, I've been Divide with your updated Warlock Stasis build in Destiny 2 Witch Queen Season 17. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and whatever you guys get up to, have a good one, and I'll see you all in the next build video.